Hashtag Pay the Grants, an economic justice advocacy group, is calling for an extension of the SASSA Gold Card replacement period. Just last week, the South African Social Security Agency and the Postbank urged recipients to exchange their gold cards for the new Postbank Black cards by the 28th of February. Now, Pay the Grants says the time frame is too short and doesn't consider the beneficiaries' personal circumstances. Elizabeth Raiters joins us for more. Elizabeth, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the late edition. I mean, this is a transition which has sparked a lot of concern, particularly regarding accessibility and communication. Talk to us about some of your biggest concerns.
Good evening, Umpo, and good evening to the listeners as well. Umpo, last year, when the black card was introduced, SASSA actually promised that the gold card won't expire, that the beneficiaries will have to go and exchange it to the black cards, and that's the only time that the money will be switched to the black cards. But now, 3 weeks before month end, before pay dates, they have decided to give out a notice to tell beneficiaries if they don't go and exchange the black card, they won't get paid next month. I think this is not fair towards beneficiaries, because beneficiaries didn't know about this. Second of all, beneficiaries have to travel to retailers to actually exchange those cards, because you can't go to your local SASSA office to exchange it. You have to go to retailers. And hearing from the ground that the queues are actually very, very long at the retailers. So some people have to go back like twice or thrice. So I think we should really extend this, Umpo.
According to your understanding, Elizabeth, what are the reasons that this transition needs to happen?
We do know that Postbank last year said that they're enhancing their cards because of security reasons. But they gave beneficiaries the assurance that there won't be a month that they won't get paid. So even though this has been happening, and we do know there's a lot of fraud happening currently in the SASSA system, which needs to be curbed, I still think they should give beneficiaries at least 3 months to exchange. Because, I mean, we're talking about millions of beneficiaries who's getting paid through the SASSA Gold Card.
I mean, another pressing concern that has been raised is the vulnerability of the elderly and disabled beneficiaries. And you also raise another point of concern around perhaps the possibility that beneficiaries will not be paid. Is that what you think could happen should this process be rushed?
I definitely think it is going to happen, because the process is rushed. We also have disabled people who's bedridden. We have old people who's bedridden, who requires actually SASSA officials to give them home visits so they can exchange their cards. So how are they going to do that in this short time frame of 3 weeks? This is not fair what SASSA is doing. Already beneficiaries are struggling financially, and this is just going to make it worse, and more people are going to go hungry.
It's also been suggested that even as beneficiaries make the journey to these sites, technical issues like network outages on grant payment days continue to hinder this replacement process. You've mentioned the long queues. How will an extension assist?
Extension will actually help a lot, because, as you know, the black card also doesn't work immediately. If a beneficiary go and exchange the black card today and they have funds in there, they then will have to wait 48 hours for the funds to clear. The funds won't be immediately available. Then when the beneficiaries do go and apply, there's an issue of their fingerprints is not reading, or the network is not there, or the PIN is not getting accepted. So there's all these issues that also needs to be sorted out with the system from Postbank. And I do not know if Postbank is aware of all those issues currently that the beneficiaries are having with a black card.
And as you raise these concerns, I mean, what do you believe the consequences of beneficiaries failing to replace their cards before the deadline would be? I mean, you have mentioned a few elements of what you think the ripple effect would be should this deadline not be extended.
Beneficiaries won't get paid.
Yeah.
Now, you do know we live in a society that a majority of the population actually depend on social grants. And the fact that they cannot access the grants then on that time mean that they will be going hungry for the whole month.
And in terms of communication, do you think that, this was communicated in advance? Or, is it perhaps a mishap and some beneficiaries may not be even aware that they need to follow this process?
Beneficiaries was aware that at some stage they had to change the card.
Okay.
But because they were guaranteed that they won't, that the gold card will still be working, it won't expire, beneficiaries didn't rush to go change the cards. But now with SASSA giving a 3-week timeline, I think that's very bad. And doing it last minute, the communication is not good at all.
Very well. Thank you so much for giving us this full picture, for your time there. Hashtag pay the grants, Elizabeth Raiters there. Have a very good evening, giving us some of the concerns around the implications of not extending the deadline for beneficiaries to swap their cards.